JT Crowley is Talking Books. On the show, you'll hear from emerging talent and seasoned veterans from around the world.
Hello, I'm JT Crowley. I'm the host of Talking Book Show on Web Talk Radio, and today I have Molly Arbuthnott from Scotland in the United Kingdom, and she's here for the third time, everybody, to talk about three of her books, and one of them is her latest book, Eddie the Duckling. Eddie the Duckling was put out late last year, which we're going to talk about, and we're also going to talk about one of my favourite books, Peanut the Hamster, which was put out in February 24. And then we're going to go to one of Oscar and Friends series, Oscar the London Cat, which Molly put out in 2020, February 2020. So we're going to talk about three of her books, everybody. She's got lots of books. She's a prolific children's writer, but we're just concentrating today on three of her books. So Molly, welcome back.
Hi, thank you, John. Lovely to be back.
You're very welcome. So Molly, can you just remind everybody who you are and what your books are about?
Sure. I'm Molly Arbuthnott and I write picture books. I try to classify them as a book with pictures. That means it is suitable for any age rather than just purely a children's book. I try and write about things that have been real and relevant to me in my experiences of life, and in an educative and informative way that will hopefully bring lots of joy to anyone who reads them.
There you go, everyone. So the first book we're going to turn our attention to, everybody, is Eddie the Duckling. So Molly, this book was illustrated by Maude Smith. And I understand on this occasion that there is the theme to this book, or the message you're trying to get across is that things always turn out all right in the end. So my first question around this book is, why Eddie the Duck and why this theme?
Eddie is called Eddie the Duckling after one of my friends from St Andrews University, Joe Webster. It's kind of a tribute to all the friends I had and made there, and as a thank you for everything they individually and collectively have brought into my life. The reason for the duckling itself, I don't really know. It was just kind of came to me in that fashion. And he's a very conscientious, kind and caring duckling who's always trying his best.
Yes, now I've got, everybody, the book on my iPad in front of me. And the illustrations by Maude are absolutely fantastic, aren't they, Molly?
Yeah, they're wonderful illustrations. They really are.
So where did you get the idea of, Eddie? You talk about in the first page, he didn't have the lightning bolt of brown courage that every other duck had on their head. Where did this come from? This is a little duck who's very different to all the other ducks in the brood, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I mean, most of my stories focus on one character who, for whatever reason, is slightly different from all of his or her peers. And ducks have noticeable brown marks that go either side of their head. And this was it was a way for me to identify and make Eddie slightly different by not having these brown linings. I mean, otherwise he could have had a brown beak or a different trait, but I kind of like it being something that's not too different. So it's something that wouldn't be so obvious to a naked eye. That's just a tiny bit sort of different from others.
I love the illustration, the picture of you got the mother duck and then all the other ducklings behind her. And of course, poor Eddie is struggling to keep up, isn't he?
Yeah, he's always a duck who He was a duck who struggled to keep up, exactly.
He did, everybody. He did. And Mum had to do a lot of encouraging to him, didn't she?
Yeah, but then he, without wanting to give any spoilers, he finds his little secret talent that transforms him in the eyes of everyone around him and transforms him in himself. That sort of sense of self-belief, I feel, is very important.
It is. And you do it very well in this beautiful book of yours. And when I look down, a couple more of the illustrations here, which are bright, vivid, and very colourful, everybody, which, a book of this nature should be. And, he's got, one day he gets his little tummy out of the water and he's very, very excited, but he sinks again, doesn't he?
Yes, well, there are all sorts of things that happen to him when he's trying to eat. He gets worms caught around him. I try and I don't know if you can see if I show, but in each of the stories, I mean, it focuses on what happens to Eddie, but also I try to teach the different animals you might see on a riverbank. So we've got an oyster catcher here, and then all the different types of trees, so that it becomes a fully immersive learning experience for anyone who reads the books, rather than just focusing particularly on the things that Eddie is doing wrong or badly. The focus should be more on what one can learn from it. And it kind of goes on to prove how resilient and strong Eddie is, in that by the end he's found his skills and his talents and able to give a lot of gifts to everyone around him.
I think you've done that beautifully. And I do love there's a picture here. I don't know if you can get it up for us. And it's round the lake. You've got the fox, you've got the birds flying, and you've got the ducks the ducklings in the water. And it's a bright coloured illustration.
Oh yes. Well, I don't want to give any spoilers, but I think it's this one here.
It is that one. Look at that, everybody. Isn't it bright, colourful? That's what this book is all about. Enjoy it, everybody. And of course, towards the end of the book, there is a little twist to it, isn't there? It does come true in the very end, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, the final phrase of the story is never give up. Things always turn out all right in the end, which has a lot of truth in it, I feel.
Oh, I agree. It's it's wonderful, but I'm not going to give the game away right at the very end, everybody, because that's not the idea of doing this podcast. And we are going to cover off one or two more books. So they are short books, and I says this is a book ideal for anybody to read, parents, grandparents to sit and read with their young children and enjoy the colours, enjoy the storyline, and enjoy the underlying message. Now, Molly, you and I both know that my favourite book out of all of your books is
Peanut.
Peanut.
One shouldn't have favourites.
Oh, I know, but I do. And of course, Peanut you put out last year, February last year. Would you care to tell us, what the background to that little story was about?
Sure. It was what was the story about? Oh yes, some friends of mine lost a hamster on a train. And I wanted to create a story centered around this, because obviously I'd written about the cat getting lost on a ferry, and so this was kind of similar but kind of different as well. And fortunately, in this instance, they find the hamster again at the end, so it has a positive, happy ending.
Because the characters in this book, it's about Paul and Peanut, isn't it?
Excuse me. Yes, it is.
And of course, Paul is a journalist, but he needs Peanut very much to inspire him, doesn't he?
Yes, they have a very positive symbiotic relationship.
They do, everybody. And of course, Peanut goes missing, and Paul's writing skills come to a bit of a grinding halt.
Yes, they do. When exactly he kind of depends. Well, they depend on each other in different ways, but Paul finds that without Peanut, he can't write anymore.
And of course, a lot of the story, everybody, is based on a train journey. Now, what's the train journey? Where's it going to?
Well, I used to take the sleeper seat a lot, going from Edinburgh to London or London to Edinburgh, and so it's based on one of the Caledonian sleepers.
And now, I love in this book the illustrations because they are very different to your other books, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They are by a girl called Anastasiia Morozova, who is Italian,
Mm.
and I am actually working with her at present for my next book. We're doing a competition and going to find an illustrator from the massive pool of illustrators that she works with.
I think it's brilliant, because these illustrations, everybody, in this book, Peanut the Hamster, they are magical, everybody, simply magical. And as I said, it's my favourite of Molly's books. And she's already told me off, everybody, you shouldn't have a favourite, but I do. I can't help that.
Mhm.
It's wonderful. And I love the story of the typewriter in this book. I mean, where did that come from? Where did that idea come from? The typewriter.
Well, every writer needs a typewriter, though I have to admit I don't personally have one, but they're integral to someone's writing career.
Because you've got down here, Paul was a very famous author, a prolific author with an apparent treasure trove of ideas. Only Peanut and Paul knew the truth, though. So this is the story of this symbiotic story, everybody, of Paul and Peanut. They need each other, and that's the whole emphasis of this book. Because the story behind this book, the message, correct me if I'm wrong here, is that this book is about faith, it's about hope, and it's about never giving up.
Yes, no, that's right, because Paul finds that without Peanut, he can't write, and it makes life very difficult for him. But he keeps going, and eventually he comes across Peanut again. Not in the same fashion as before because time's moved on and things have changed, but he still finds that he gets the support and love that he needs.
He does, everybody. And I'm not going to give the game away, but Peanut has a little family. Not to say any more on that one because it is a brilliant book, like all the books. Um, but for me, this is my favourite. And I'm saying no more. Just go and enjoy these books, everybody. They are phenomenal. They are great books for young minds to learn things and to cherish. And also for, like a parent or a grandparent or a foster or a guardian to sit down and spend time with a young mind. And sometimes for a young mind to actually tell the grown-ups all about the story. Because these books are for everyone, aren't they?
Yes, that's how I like to project them. Just because they are books with pictures does not necessarily mean they're for children. It means they're for any age because, I mean, if we think about it, we all look at paintings and appreciate art, and there's no difference between appreciating a painting on a wall as a picture in a book. The two are, if anything, we can almost learn more from pictures and books, I
A
would say.
picture paints 1,000 words.
It does indeed.
Does indeed. Now, Molly, I believe that when you first started writing, um, you concentrated on your series of books, Oscar and Friends, that series.
Yes, that's right. They were the first books I wrote.
Because you've got Oscar's the Italian cat, you've got Oscar the London cats, you've got Oscar the Hebridean cat. There's a whole host of friends, everybody, within this series. So, what inspired you to do this series?
Well, we lost our cat Oscar on a ferry, and I was so heartbroken, well, we all were, to have lost him that I kind of used that as a drive to create Oscar the Ferry Cat. And once I'd written the Ferry Cat, I then it was quite easy to take Oscar on adventures to all these different places that meant so much to me in all these their different ways. And so then he went to the Hebrides of Scotland, and then to Italy, well, then to London, and then to Italy.
So, let's focus on Oscar the London cat. What's this story about?
Well, I've got it here. It's a tribute to my uncle James, who was in the army. My dad was in the army, and my brother Magnus was in the army as well. So it has lots of family connections. This is Uncle James here.
Wow.
And so it's kind of exploring the association between the army and London. And there's also a little tribute to Hill House, which is the school I taught at in London. You can see the uniform just here. So it's a kind of homage. Also, actually, there's a very famous lady at the end. So it's a tribute to her as well. So things that kind of were very special to me in my first few years when I lived in London the first time.
So the story kicks off. You've got Oscar and, of course, his companion, Mercy.
Yeah.
And you start on the ferry with the captain, and they're waiting for a very special guest, another captain, to come on board.
Yeah. So that allows for teachers or children to play with the juxtaposition of captain and captain, and what the two mean, and how you can have words that sound the same but mean different things, and all that kind of thing.
I wondered that. So where on earth did you get the imagination of the bearskin hat, with the two cats in it there, snuggling up, going to sleep there?
Oh, well, that just, I mean, like anything, it just kind of came to me. I mean, the joy of writing, you're always thinking of ideas. Even this morning, I was doing a lesson with some children in Kenya, and so we had hippos and sailing boats, and then we had a giraffe who became a ladder, and all sorts of things. So in the course of an hour, I feel like I've certainly put the world to rights.
There you go, everyone. So, and of course, when I look at the illustrations now, these have been done by Agnes Treherne, haven't they? In this book?
Yes, the Oscar ones are all by Agnes.
And I like the scene, I don't know if you can show us, where you've got the two captains meeting on the boat.
Yes, that's very near the beginning.
It is near the beginning. And you've got, yes, I said, the two captains sitting on the tow. Not quite that one.
Oh, here we go. Apologies. That's them looking out for him. Here they are.
There it is. This, everybody, is just to give you an idea of what the illustrations in this book look like. They are, like in all her books, magical, bright, vivid, and they really do reflect the storyline so well. So, Molly, do you enjoy working with all your illustrators? Because you do choose a few, don't you?
Yes, I've got 5 now on my books. And going to be working with a sixth coming up. And yes, I love the collaboration. It kind of I think I'd get a bit too insular if I was just doing it all myself, and it enables different sort of outlook on the story. I never really get involved in the creative process of the illustrators because I feel as a creative one needs one's space to articulate oneself. But they never disappoint. If anything, they get better and better as each story goes on.
I agree. Now, I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think this book was written in support of Scotty's Little Soldiers, the charity for children of the fallen. Am I right?
Yes, that's right. Actually, all I can go back just quickly.
Yeah.
Peanut is Give a Dog a Bone. That is a charity that supports dogs. And then Eddie the Duckling is the Give a Duck. There's a lot of giving I'm feeling in these charities. Give a Duck, they work with chemotherapy kids who need the support.
So the books are fun, they are educational, they carry a theme, everybody. But would you say that your main aim, Molly, is to encourage young minds to enjoy reading more?
Yes, but not just young minds. It's any mind that feels like reading a story. And the it's not just to enjoy reading more, it's to kind of look at the world in a positive way, and to never judge by first appearances because they can deceive, and also to create a kind of sense of self-belief in whoever reads it as well.
So who do you want to, see reading your books? And what do you want people to get out of your books? I know you touched on that briefly there.
Yeah, I don't really I don't really care who see whoever reads the books. That's not really important. It's to realize that anything is really possible. Because I think particularly after COVID, there's been a lot of it's sort of harder for entrepreneurs or people to think outside the box, I think, now, or to take the risks, because we're quite a risk averse nation, I'd say, much more than we used to be. And I'm hoping that through reading a story about eating a peanut and being filled with ideas, or sleeping in a hat and ending up in London, that you can kind of realize that within reason, you can really do anything you want to do. And I think that that's a really important lesson for children or anyone to learn and to believe.
And a bit like Eddie, to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Perseverance is it's a great message, and also to find to do what you love, because it's very easy to be trapped into doing a career or a profession or something that doesn't always bring you joy, but for whatever reasons you feel you have to do it, and you don't. You can, if you want it enough, you can make anything work.
So what's coming down the line? You're a prolific writer. What's coming up this year?
Well, I'm launching my second book in the States. That's going to be in September now. And then I'm going off to Abu Dhabi and Dubai. My brother lives there, so I'm going to go and try and do a promotional tour. And what else? I'm launching my next book, which is about a bat. It's called Eamon the Bat, and that's going to be launching in probably October now in London on a boat.
Do you enjoy writing?
Yes, I love it. Sometimes I write poems. just as a reflection on the world around me, and other times the longer stories. It kind of helps me make sense of the world around me in a affirming, positive way.
That's an interesting viewpoint, everybody. So I just want to say to Molly, thank you very much for coming back on the show and giving me the opportunity to talk about her latest book, Eddie the Duckling, and to revisit two of her, how should we say, older books. But I have to say, I'm sorry, Peanut's my favourite.
Well, you haven't met the bat yet. Wait till you meet this bat.
Oh, wait. Well, let's see if the bat competes with Peanut, everybody. Let's wait. And as Molly's already hinted, that's probably going to be coming out towards the back end of this year. So I simply want to say to Molly Arbuthnott from Scotland in the United Kingdom, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been great catching up with you and what's happening with you in your world of writing. Molly Arbuthnott, everybody.